Reacts. Okay. Worst mistakes humans ever made. Worst mistakes humans ever made.
The Chernobyl disaster. On April 26, 1986, engineers at the Chernobyl nuclear power plant in the Ukrainian SSR, Soviet Union, decided to conduct a safety test that would forever change history. They wanted to see if the plant's turbines could generate enough electricity to power the safety systems during an emergency.
How long is it before we could go back to Chernobyl? I forgot about that. I'm about to look it up. Chernobyl.
Oh God.
Chernobyl. You don't know what Chernobyl is? Chernobyl. Whatever.
Never heard that word in my life.
Never heard that word in your life. It's a nuclear power plant that, like, something went bad with it way back, like 1940s or 30s, and, like, it exploded. Yeah, right? It exploded, something like that. And the area is so radioactive. You step foot there, you will die. Just like, probably like that. I'm not sure, but yeah. And I'm pretty sure we can't go there. Hold up, let me look that up real quick.
Damn.
The trips will not resume until the war ends.
Yo. That
Oh.
French fry
So,
sounds
like-
like a rock.
Hey, were your French fries, man? Okay. Let's get back into this.
Emergency shutdown. They began reducing the reactor's power during the day shift on April 25th, but the test was delayed for hours due to unexpected grid demand and later handed over to the night shift. The night crew was less experienced with this specific procedure, but they proceeded anyway. At 12:28 a.m., the reactor should have been lowered to 700 to 1,000 megawatts thermal, but due to operator error, it dropped to just 30 megawatts thermal. At this dangerously low level, the reactor became unstable, with xenon gas building up and poisoning the nuclear reaction. Rather than stopping the test, they decided to continue. To compensate for the low power, they
See, this. Cut it out! Anyway, this is why you don't just brush shit off like this. You know? Everybody's dead now, and can't go back there, so don't do stupid shit.
withdrew most of the control rods that regulate the nuclear reaction. This left the reactor in an extremely dangerous state. As the test was underway, the reactor became increasingly unstable. At 1:23:40 a.m., the operators pressed the AZ-5 emergency shutdown button, initiating a chain of events that led to the explosion seconds later. However, the reactor's power surged uncontrollably within seconds. The control rod design itself contributed to the disaster, as the initial insertion of the graphite-tipped control rods actually increased reactivity before they could fully insert to shut down the reaction. Two massive explosions destroyed the reactor core, blasting off its upper biological shield and releasing radioactive material into the atmosphere. The explosion was so powerful, it could be seen from miles away. Radioactive debris rained down on the surrounding area. In the official records, just 30 people were counted among the immediate dead. But in the days that followed the explosion, radioactive fallout drifted silently across Europe. Nearly 2 days later, radiation alarms went off not in the Soviet Union, but at the Forsmark nuclear power plant in Sweden, revealing to the world that something catastrophic had occurred. Rain carried radioactive particles into fields, forests, and cities thousands of miles away. Milk was poured away, vegetables were destroyed, and parents across Europe were told to keep their children indoors.
How could you just brush something off like that? Like, I don't understand. Now look at what. What the fuck? I don't know.
What? Crisscross applesauce.
often without understanding how serious the danger truly was. The threat was invisible, borderless, and impossible to escape. Meanwhile, the city of Pripyat was evacuated in silence. Nearly 50,000 people left their homes believing they would return in a few days. They never did. Their apartments, schools, and amusement parks were frozen in time, becoming permanent monuments to a disaster that erased an entire city overnight. In the years and decades that followed, hundreds of thousands of liquidators were sent in to contain the aftermath, many at great personal cost.
Well, let me make sure that's not a me thing. Excuse me. Okay, we're good. All right.
The true number of radiation-related deaths remains disputed to this day, with estimates ranging from several thousand to far higher. Chernobyl reshaped nuclear safety worldwide and exposed the dangers of secrecy and design failure, proving that some technological mistakes do not stay local and that the scars of a single night can last for generations. The Mars Climate Orbiter. On December 11th,
Mars Climate Orbiter. What the fuck? I never heard of this.
1998, NASA launched the Mars Climate Orbiter, a $125 million mission to study Mars's climate and atmosphere. After a 9-month journey through space, the spacecraft was scheduled to enter Mars's orbit on September 23, 1999. Everything seemed perfect as the orbiter approached the red planet. Mission controllers watched nervously as the spacecraft disappeared behind Mars, as planned, to begin its orbital insertion. They waited for the signal confirming successful orbit, but it never came. The Mars Climate Orbiter was gone forever. The investigation revealed one of the costliest measurement mistakes in history. Lockheed Martin, the spacecraft's contractor, had programmed their navigation software using imperial units, pound-force seconds. NASA's team, however, expected the data in metric units, Newton seconds. For nearly 9 months, navigation errors accumulated due to the unit mismatch by a factor of 4.45. Instead of passing at a safe altitude of about 87 miles, the spacecraft dipped to roughly 35 miles. At that low altitude, Mars's thin atmosphere was still thick enough to destroy the spacecraft. The orbiter either burned up in the atmosphere or crashed into the planet's surface. A simple unit conversion error destroyed a $125 million spacecraft and contributed to a total program failure, costing nearly $328 million.
Damn. Hold up. That's a shitload of money. But
Just for it to all like collapse too.
think of how much more that would be today.
Oh, that'd be close to like a
I'm actually-
trillion.
Let me see. $328 million would be $671.9 million today.
Oh, it's not that much. I thought it was going to be close to like a trillion.
It's still a huge number, but not that. Yeah,
Sassy.
not that bad. But pretty bad, actually. Actually, very bad. But hello?
The Mishap Investigation Board concluded it was a failure to recognize and correct an error in the transfer of information between the spacecraft operations team. The gas leak incident. On the night of December 2, 1984, the Union Carbide pesticide plant in Bhopal, India, was undergoing routine maintenance work. The plant produced 7, a popular pesticide, using methyl isocyanate, a highly toxic chemical that required extreme safety measures. That night, maintenance work was being conducted on pipes connected to methyl isocyanate storage tank E610. Water somehow entered the tank containing 42 tons of methyl isocyanate, most likely due to failures in isolation procedures during maintenance.
See, I wouldn't let that slide. Because at that point, I'll just throw a lighter in there. Call it a day. Go home. That's what happened.
A lighter?
Yeah.
What even happened?
So water got into the E610, and I'm guessing that's like a.
Who calling me? Get back to this.
The water mixed with the chemical, creating an unstable reaction. Temperature inside the tank began rising rapidly. Around 10:30 p.m., pressure continued building as safety and containment systems were either not functioning or overwhelmed. The chemical reaction became uncontrollable as temperature and pressure soared. At 12:56 a.m. on December 3rd, a massive relief valve burst open, releasing a deadly cloud of methyl isocyanate gas into the air. The toxic cloud spread across Bhopal's sleeping residents.
That would be worse if you throw a lighter in there.
Oh no. At least everyone would be dead
Ye-
like that instead
bro,
of
bro,
slowly dying.
This guy just wants to hurt people. I
No,
swear.
no, no.
People woke up with-
Hear me out. Would you want to die slowly from slowly getting poisoned, or would you want to die instantly?
I wouldn't want to die at all.
Yeah, but if you had to choose,
I don't have to choose.
in this situation, you do. The town right outside of the company. They're dead. Either way.
Hopefully, when I go to sleep, it'll be fixed in the morning. My ear, but yeah.
You need me to scream in
No.
it?
burning eyes, difficulty breathing, and severe coughing. Many ran outside, which made their exposure worse. Others collapsed in their beds, never waking up. Several thousand people died in the first few days following the disaster. More than 500,000 people were exposed to the toxic gas. Long-term death tolls are estimated between 15,000 and 20,000 people. A cascade of safety failures, including the failure to properly isolate the tank, led to one of history's deadliest industrial accidents. The Challenger disaster. On
Oh, that one's sad. The Challenger. That. Can you fucking stop? Lock in.
I'm trying.
Challenger was like the worst. Like probably the worst, if not one of the worst, if not the worst.
Why?
NASA rockets disasters. Because you never heard of the Challenger?
No. I know the car.
Oh my god. This guy. Anyway, so look, the Challenger, it was a NASA rocket. A teacher was on board that rocket, and a couple other people. It didn't even make it all the way to space. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I don't think it made it all the way to space, and it just exploded.
I remember that one.
Crashing.
I called it something else, not Challenger.
It was the Challenger. Was it it was the Challenger. Stop.
They called it something else.
It was the Challenger.
January 28, 1986, Space Shuttle Challenger lifted off from Kennedy Space Center, carrying 7 crew members, including teacher Krista McAuliffe, who was set to become the first civilian to teach from space. The launch had been delayed multiple times due to unusually cold weather, with temperatures around freezing and even colder conditions at the critical joints. Engineers at Morton Thiokol, the company that built the shuttle's solid rocket boosters, were deeply concerned. They had warned NASA that the rubber O-ring seals in the joints might fail in cold temperatures. The O-rings were designed to prevent hot gas from escaping the rocket boosters. In cold weather, the rubber became stiff and might not seal properly. The night before launch, Thiokol engineers recommended postponing until temperatures warmed up. During a tense teleconference, they presented data showing O-ring problems in previous cold weather launches. But NASA was under enormous pressure. The launch had already been delayed 6 times, and President Reagan was scheduled to mention the mission in his State of the Union address that evening. NASA managers questioned the engineering data and asked Thiokol to reconsider. After heated discussion, Thiokol management overruled their own engineers and gave NASA the go-ahead. At 11:39 a.m., Challenger launched into a clear, cold morning sky. Just 73.
I don't understand though, like, because you're putting so many people at risk, even though, yeah, your reputation, because like you postponed 6 times already. Oh no, we can't do this. Too much stuff. Doesn't matter. You're saving people's lives.
3 seconds after liftoff, at an altitude of 48,000 feet, cameras captured a flame shooting from the right solid rocket booster. The O-ring seal had failed exactly as engineers predicted. Hot gas escaped and burned through the external fuel tank's side. The external fuel tank ruptured and disintegrated, breaking the shuttle apart. All 7 crew members died. The Rogers Commission concluded that the O-ring failure was foreseeable and could have been prevented. The decision to launch despite engineering warnings became a textbook case of organizational failure and the dangers of ignoring technical expertise under pressure. 9/11 communication failures. Throughout the summer of 2001, multiple U.S. intelligence agencies received warnings about an impending terrorist attack on American soil. These warnings, if properly connected and acted upon, might have helped prevent the September 11th attacks that killed 2,977 people.
So it was the government. Is that what we're saying? It was the government. Why are you laughing?
Because we all knew it was the government. Why else would they make the police numbers 9/11 and then do the terrorist attack exactly on 9/11? We all do this. They teach us this. And
Stop talking.
They-
Stop. Please stop. Stop.
On August 6, 2001, the CIA delivered a presidential daily brief to George W. Bush titled Bin Laden, Determined to Strike in U.S. The brief mentioned that FBI investigations had found patterns of suspicious activity consistent with preparations for hijackings or other attacks in the United States. However, the brief was general and didn't specify targets or timing. Meanwhile, the FBI had crucial pieces of information they failed to properly investigate. In July 2001, FBI agent Kenneth Williams in Phoenix wrote a memo warning that Middle Eastern men were taking flight lessons at Arizona flight schools. He suggested that Al-Qaeda might be training pilots for terrorist operations. The memo was largely ignored by FBI headquarters. More critically, in late August 2001, CIA officials learned that two known Al-Qaeda operatives, Khalid al-Mihtar and Nawaf al-Hazmi, had entered the United States. The CIA had been tracking them since early 2000, but failed to place them on the FBI's terrorist watch list until very late in the process. When the FBI finally began searching for them, it was too late. They were already in the final stages of preparing for the attacks. The most tragic near miss occurred on August 16, 2001, when FBI agent Harry Sammet arrested Zacharias Moussaoui at a Minnesota flight school. Moussaoui was taking lessons on flying large commercial aircraft, but wasn't interested in learning how to take off or land. His instructors found this suspicious and contacted the FBI. Agent Sammet tried desperately to get approval for a warrant to search Moussaoui's computer, believing he was planning something catastrophic. He sent numerous messages to FBI headquarters, but his requests were repeatedly denied due to bureaucratic hurdles. If approved, the search might have revealed critical links to terrorist networks or plans for an imminent attack. The 9/11 Commission concluded that the attack succeeded largely due to failures in information sharing between agencies, bureaucratic obstacles that prevented swift action, and a lack of imagination about how terrorists might use civilian aircraft as weapons. The Banqiao Dam Nightmare. In 1952, Chinese engineers began construction of the Banqiao Dam across the Ru River in Henan province.
Isn't that like the biggest dam in the world?
Should we say dam?
Yeah.
Up the river?
Like, huh? Yeah.
Oh no, the Hoover Dam.
The Hoover Dam?
Yeah, I think that's the biggest.
Here we go again. I'm about to look this shit up. Three Georges Dam and I'm not gonna even try to say that in China.
Huh? Provinces?
This is not the same. Not the same, but nope.
The project was part of Chairman Mao's ambitious plan to rapidly modernize China, but the combination of extreme weather and systematic failures led to catastrophe. The dam was designed to handle approximately 500 millimeters of rainfall over 3 days, which was considered adequate for the region's typical weather patterns. Chinese engineer Chen Xing warned about potential flood risks in the typhoon-prone region, but his concerns were dismissed, and he was labeled a political rightist and removed from the project. Construction continued, and the dam was completed in 1953. On August 5, 1975, Typhoon Nina made landfall in China. The storm had been weakened by its path over land, but it stalled over the Banqiao Dam region due to unusual weather patterns. For 3 days, the storm dumped unprecedented amounts of rain on the watershed. In some areas, over 1,000 millimeters fell in 24 hours, far exceeding what the dam was designed to handle. Water levels rose rapidly. Dam operators tried to release water through the spillways, but they couldn't discharge it fast enough. They attempted to contact higher authorities for permission to open the floodgates wider, but communication lines had been knocked out by the storm. At 1 a.m. on August 8, 1975,
At that point, you shouldn't even ask for permission. You should just do it. If you have a feeling something bad's gonna happen, I would just do it.
Well, there's people that sits at the bottom of the dam sometimes, so they could be endangered. Yeah, they do have the alarms though. They do have the alarm saying, "Yeah, the dam about to open."
Oh,
This was in 1975, so I don't know if they had the alarms back then or not.
yeah. Well,
The Banqiao Dam collapsed catastrophically. A massive wall of water several meters high and approximately 6 miles wide roared down the river valley. The flood destroyed entire villages in minutes. The collapse triggered a cascade failure of more than 60 other dams downstream. The official death toll was 26,000 people, but some estimates suggest it reached 240,000. The extreme rainfall event, combined with communication failures and insufficient spillway capacity during the emergency, caused one of history's deadliest dam failures, the Hiroshima bomb. On August 6, 1945, at 8:15 a.m., the Enola Gay dropped Little Boy, the first atomic bomb.
I want to know why they named these bombs. Why did they name the bombs the way they named them? Little Boy and what? Fat Boy? Little Boy and Fat Boy?
Yeah.
Why?
Size.
Yeah, but like, why Little Boy, Fat Boy?
Ever used in warfare on Hiroshima, Japan. The decision to use this weapon, and specifically to target a populated city, became one of the most controversial choices in human history. President Harry Truman faced an agonizing decision. Some military estimates suggested that a conventional invasion of Japan could cost hundreds of thousands of American lives, with potentially millions more on both sides. The atomic bomb seemed like a way to end the war quickly and save lives on both sides. The Target Committee, composed of American military officials, created a list of potential cities based on military significance and psychological impact. Hiroshima was chosen because it housed military headquarters and weapons factories, but also because it was largely undamaged by previous bombing raids, making it an ideal target to demonstrate the bomb's devastating power to maximum effect. Hiroshima was home to hundreds of thousands of people, including both military personnel and civilians. The bomb was targeted at the city center rather than the military installations on the outskirts. At the moment of detonation, the bomb created a fireball with temperatures reaching several thousand degrees Celsius. Near the hypocenter, temperatures were so extreme that people and structures were instantly incinerated. People up to 1.5 miles away suffered severe burns and radiation exposure. Approximately 70,000 people died immediately or within hours. By the end of 1945, the death toll had risen to between 100,000 and 140,000 as more people succumbed to radiation sickness and injuries. Decades later, many questioned whether the bomb needed to be dropped on a populated area. Some historians argue that a demonstration on an uninhabited area might have convinced Japan to surrender. Others argue that Japan's leadership
Just realized y'all can't hear me. I think it would too. But then again, did they have more than one of those bombs?
I think they only made
So-
one. I thought they only made one of this kind.
Yeah.
Little
Well,
Big Boy.
Japan probably didn't know that. So, yeah, I guess dropping it on a like non-habited island, like we could have done that. Japan would have probably been like, "Oh, fuck that." So, I don't know why we didn't, but okay.
was already internally divided over surrender, especially after the Soviet Union entered the war against them on August 8th. The decision to target a populated city center, rather than pursuing alternatives that might have achieved the same strategic goal, remains one of history's most debated choices. The Titanic tragedy. On April
I gotta say this. There's this one kid that me and him used to go to school with. He ruined Titanic for me. I mean, I don't hate that's his favorite movie, like of all time.
Oh, Evan Hall?
Of all time. Yes. I don't blame like, hey, you love that movie, you love that movie, but god damn, I do not. I think he did. For a slight bit. But guy loves Titanic. I don't understand.
10th, 1912, the RMS Titanic began its maiden voyage from Southampton to New York City. The ship was hailed as unsinkable due to revolutionary safety features, but multiple design limitations and operational decisions doomed the vessel and more than 1,500 passengers and crew. The White Star Line, Titanic's owner, faced intense competition from rival companies building faster, more luxurious ships. The ship's watertight bulkheads, the walls designed to prevent flooding from spreading between compartments, had a critical limitation. Many of these bulkheads only extended to E-deck, several levels below the main deck. This meant that if the ship took on enough water and the bow dipped low enough, water could spill over the bulkheads from one compartment to the next. Another critical factor involved the lifeboats. British Board of Trade regulations at the time, based on tonnage calculations for older, smaller vessels, required Titanic to carry lifeboat capacity for far fewer people than were actually aboard. The ship carried lifeboats for approximately 1,178 people, while about 2,200 passengers and crew were on board, meaning the lifeboats could accommodate only about half the people. On the night of April 14, 1912, traveling at nearly full speed through ice-filled waters despite receiving ice warnings, Titanic struck an iceberg at 11:40 p.m. The impact created a series of openings caused by hull deformation and rivet failure below the waterline, flooding 6 of the ship's watertight compartments. Because many bulkheads didn't extend high enough, and the bow dipped as water flooded the forward compartments, water spilled from one compartment to the next. The ship was designed to survive flooding in 4 compartments, but not 6. As Titanic took on more water, the insufficient lifeboat capacity proved disastrous. During the evacuation, many lifeboats were lowered only partially filled because there hadn't been adequate drills, and passengers didn't understand the severity of the situation. The first lifeboat launched with only 28 people aboard, despite having capacity for 65. By 2:20 a.m. on April 15th, Titanic had completely sunk. The combination of speed through known ice fields, bulkhead design limitations, inadequate lifeboat regulations, and poor evacuation procedures contributed to the enormous loss of life in what became history's most famous maritime disaster. If you'd like to see more stories like this, make sure
W video.